Lately, we've been seeing a lot of new options for wireless Nintendo Switch controllers, and we have an interesting one to talk about today. There have been a lot of controllers in the past we've talked about from 8BitDo. They make a line of different Bluetooth ones that are all styled off of classic retro Nintendo stuff, and one of their big hits is this one right here, the NES 30 Pro. Well, they're soon releasing an upgraded version called the NES 30 Pro 2. Now, at first glance, you might not be able to notice that much of a difference between these two, outside of a slight change in how they represent the original NES style-wise. But there's actually a lot that's going on differently on the inside of this one that makes it, honestly, a major upgrade. And a lot of them point to one very specific purpose: being better on the Switch. Now, like the previous NES 30 Pro, this is still just a straight-up Bluetooth controller. You can use it across a whole bunch of different devices, Macs, PCs, iOS, Android, but the main purpose here for this one, really, design-wise, is to make it just an even better fit for the Switch. And it actually has some features that makes it very competitive against other wireless controllers currently on the market. First off, as far as the only functional external change you can notice right away, this uses a USB-C port instead of micro USB. So it's bringing it in line with the entire line of Nintendo products. If you own a USB to USB-C adapter, which you might use for certain controllers or charging stations, that'll work with this. Or you can even unplug your Switch dock and use it to charge the controller as well. So you don't need to carry around any kind of different cable like you would for the previous model. Also, while I'm currently showing off the main NES design, this one does come in 4 different colors. This one based on the NES, another design based on the N64 with the green and blue button with a couple yellow buttons as well, a GameCube inspired controller which has that nice little indigo purple finish with yellow sticks, which looks really nice, and then one that took me a little bit of time to figure out is a black design with gray trim and purple start and select buttons. This is actually going a little against the grain. Instead of being a Nintendo-based design, it's based on the Sega Mega Drive controller. So that's what we have going on the outside, but what's different on the inside is what really makes this a major upgrade, especially for the Switch. It offers 3 new functions that the previous controller could not do. Motion controls, so you can use it for games that make use of those, like for instance aiming a bow in Legend of Zelda. Rumble, which is a really interesting fact because not many wireless controllers for the Switch actually support Rumble outside of the official Switch Pro controller, and also a turbo button feature because, come on, you always have to have one for a retro controller. So with all that in mind, let's actually test it out and see how it handles. So before we actually start playing on the Switch, we have to get this actually connected to it, which is really simple. You start by putting the controller in Switch mode as opposed to putting it in modes for Android or Mac or whatever. And you do that by hitting Start and Y at the same time. Once you've done that, you just have to make sure you're on your Switch's controller connection screen, hit and hold the sync button, and we're good to go. Also, by the way, once you have actually synced this with your Switch, it will remember that connection. So whenever you want to use it, just make sure your Switch is running, hit start, turn it on, and you're good to go. So I know we've played this a ton on this channel every time we test something out, but it makes a lot of sense. I'm gonna play Zelda with this controller, that way I can test out the motion controls as well as see how the rumble feels. Yeah, this is a lot like the N30, the original one, in that, you know, missing the grips hurts a little bit, but outside of that, I mean, all the buttons, everything feel really good. Sticks are nice and tight. So first, let's try out the motion controls. So, pull up my bow, make sure they're on, and yeah, that feels just like using the regular Switch Pro controller. So that works, that's good to know. Let's see how the rumble feels. Let's go find something to hit and just see how well the rumble motors feel in this controller. But yeah, okay, so the vibrating in this does feel pretty solid. It's not quite as heavy as you're gonna see in a lot of big name controllers. I feel like, you know, the Xbox One Rumble or even the Switch Pro controller, it's definitely a heavier one. But for being a cheaper controller option that has a rumble motor, it is pretty good. Now, one other function this controller does have is that you can turn on a turbo function. However, that does not work for the Switch specifically. That's only limited to other systems like using it on a PC or phone. If you are using it on those and you want to make use of the turbo button, all you have to do is hit and hold the button you want to use it with, and then hold the start button. Boom, it's activated. But for Switch, it is not an option. So all the new functions work pretty well, and this is definitely an upgrade over the original N30 Pro, but where does it stand in comparison to other wireless Switch Pro controller options? Well, honestly, surprisingly pretty high. First off, it has one major benefit in its favor, and that is the fact that it is the cheapest option out there as far as wireless controller options go. The official Nintendo Switch Pro controller is $70, sometimes $60 if you can find a little on sale. The PowerA wireless controller and your GameCube controller is $50. This stands at a nice, cool $40. You don't have to buy any other accessories to make it work. This is designed to work with a Switch directly really easily. And I will say, despite the fact this is the cheapest option out of that group, the button quality on it is really good. I like the shoulder buttons, I like the front-facing buttons, I like the sticks, they have a nice little tightness to them. The only part that feels a little low to me is the D-pad, and there's a reason for that. 8BitDo was really obsessed with this idea of retro controllers and recapturing nostalgia, and as part of that, the D-pad on this controller is designed to feel a lot like an old-school D-pad, for better or worse. It feels great if you grew up playing those controllers, but as time has gone on, options have gotten better. So it's not the best D-pad out there, but if you've grown up playing on old school controllers, this is going to feel very much like home. One aspect of it that I think does fall short compared to the other options though is the grips, because this is once again designed to kind of look and feel a little bit like an old school controller, which is cool, but it's missing something that's kind of standard these days, which is, well, actual grips to put your hands on. As a result, for long periods of gameplay, it's just not quite as comfortable. I think they did a good job of making this style of controller work comfort-wise, because these kind of rounded sides here really kind of fit to your hands and feels a little nicer, but it's still not quite as good as a more, well, currently traditional grip design. That being said, for being a $40 controller, you're getting the benefit of not only wireless, but it's also going to be giving you motion controls, and aside from the official Nintendo Switch Pro controller, this is the only controller option out there right now that's going to give you rumble, which is a surprising fact and really cool. For the money, I think this is a great pickup. It walks a really good balance between being something that offers a very nostalgic look and feel, something that old school fans are going to appreciate, but at the same time offers all the buttons and functions you need to make sure that you get the absolute most out of all your Switch games, as well as any other devices you want to use this on, because once again, it is a Bluetooth controller. You can still use this on phones, PC, Mac, whatever. Not to mention, they also just look really cool.